Okay, me and Morgan had the article The Having of Wonderful Ideas by Eleanor Duckworth, and this basically just talked about incorporating Piaget's theory of pedagogy into the classroom and allowing students to actually do things rather than just teach out of a dry content. So it's basically a process of trial and error. So allowing students to use their creativity and imagination to work through a task rather than just teaching through a lecture or a textbook. It actually allows the students to connect prior knowledge with new knowledge and allow them to express it and create something new with new ideas.
So for us to be able to understand kind of overall what this article is about, we looked up the definition of pedagogy, and it was defined as the method and practice of teaching, especially as an academic subject or theoretical concept. And basically this article just does a nice job of like exploring ways that the classroom teachers can make use of this powerful theory, like basically make it more powerful so that the students are engaged with the content that you are learning.
Yeah, it talked about a lot of different activities that would be interesting for kids and help to make their learning enjoyable. And an example includes the beginning with Kevin and Stephanie.
So basically, with Kevin and Stephanie, it just basically talked about how Stephanie, she did it with no difficulty, but really didn't really have interest in the straw experiment. And then it was Kevin's turn, and basically he did it in a very complex way, but he knew exactly what he wanted to do, how he wanted to do it, even if it was a little more complex. And this was huge for the teacher because she noticed that after he completed this task, it was a little more difficult to find like a good way to do and separate the straws, but he really was engaged with the activity and felt good about himself that he accomplished this task by himself.
And it wasn't easy for him, and it said he needed a good deal of trial and error as he said about developing his system. And when he did accomplish this task, he was really pleased with himself and proud of himself, which talks about how allowing them to create their own ideas and come up with and be able to solve their own problems really helps them to feel good about themselves.
And like after so many trial and error, like yeah, it's a little stressful, but it just makes the task seem more like you're more happy with the outcome because like it took a lot of practice to get there, and it allows for more interest.
It also talked about the more ideas about something that people already have, the more new ideas occur, so you're able to put your ideas together and come up with a more complicated solution rather than just a simple task. It also talked about how teachers, as we said before, shouldn't just teach dry content to students. They don't want to just lecture. They don't want to just teach out of a textbook. They rather want to have the students feel it for themselves and do their own activities. And so give them a task and don't give any specific way on how to solve it. Just allow them to express their creativity and do it on their own.
So like basically this process of testing out the ideas, like she argues how it's very critical for the child's like cognitive growth, and it allows for more intellectual development because they're the ones who have to kind of figure it out by the trial and error, which is a great way to challenge their intellectual development.
Which all refers back to the concept of pedagogy, which is actually incorporating things into the classroom and actually doing it and applying it rather than just sitting there and listening to a lecture. You're actually applying it. And the students apply it.
And this teacher was just really big on how like she wants to make the lessons more engaging instead of dry content, like Maddie said. So that they're allowing to make the connections with their prior knowledge to the new concept.
Yeah, it was mainly just all about letting the kids explore their ideas and stuff rather than just the teacher teaching. So a quote we found was, "You don't want to cover a subject, you want to uncover it," which refers back to you don't want to just stand up there and teach and explain this is this, and you want the kids to actually uncover it and be able to explore it themselves.
Mm-hmm. And that will like allow like with their ideas, like they build up their knowledge, and so once you hand them something more like complicated, they will be able to take their prior knowledge and ideas and elaborate on it so that they're able to understand more complicated things, and it's just like a train of this development.
Yeah, that's basically what the article was talked about.